So really excited to be here today. Obviously, product management and building products is very, very near and dear to my heart, and I know all of your hearts, so thank you, Pete, for putting this together. At the core, product managers are makers. What we get motivated by and turned on by is seeing beautiful things being made and being sort of honored to be a part of that process. Growing up, I've always been a maker. When I was a teenager, actually growing up all through my childhood years, I was a dancer. And as a dancer, part of that was making up choreography. So I can show you some of my dance moves later, but sort of creating choreography, creating dances, performing for other people, creating experiences that they enjoyed was part of what motivated me as a child. And going into my first job at Microsoft, I partnered with the Xbox group, where my role was to really invent new accessories and experiences within the Xbox franchise, which was a pretty crazy experience back in the day when we were launching that new product line. After that, I moved to California, and I partnered with Jimmy Wales, who, if you know, he was the founder of Wikipedia. And we started a company called Wikia.com that was all about making tools for folks to collaborate online and share content about their passions and interests, and really giving them a space to express themselves and providing the tools and technologies that allowed that. And now here at Capital One, I'm making again, and we're really excited about the work we're doing in the bank to really help create products that allow people to engage with their money in new and interesting ways, and really change the face of banking through the technologies that we all know and love today. So what I wanted to talk about today, and what Pete asked me to talk about, and there's going to be a great panel, but I wanted to kind of just prompt the audience a little bit with 3 trends that I think are changing what it means to be a product manager and what it means for me to do my job. The first one is that extreme users are the new average Joe. For years, the management discipline in product management has been, I call it the average Joe approach, which is to go out, find a bunch of users who look and feel and smell like your users, have the behaviors of your users, and then survey them, put them on focus groups, ask them what they wanted from your product. And what you'd end up finding is you'd get a bunch of ideas, and you'd stack rank them, and you'd see which one had the most votes, and you go, great, I got exactly the product idea that the 80% of the mainstream customer that I'm targeting wants. Then you'd go and you bring that idea to your designers and your engineers and ask them to build it. That's actually not a good way to come up with a differentiated product. That's a pretty good way to come up with the same product that your competitor is going to build, because it's using the same data that they have. Extreme users, however, are a little bit more interesting. An extreme user is someone that actually is 1 or 2 standard deviations away from the mean. They're not your average customer. And what extreme users tell you is they exhibit needs in a much more expressed way. They're doing things differently, and there's a reason for that. And they're usually employing workarounds, things that to try to change the process to work for them. And the reason why you want to study extreme users is because their needs are louder and clearer than the average person. And so what ends up happening is that by observing extreme users, you can find trends and what a lot of other people actually want. To give you one example, and there's a reason I have a good-looking gentleman's butt on the slide up here. Have any of you heard of Bonobos or bought pants from Bonobos? A couple of you. Well, the story of how Bonobos was founded was it was a couple of guys who were D1 soccer players. And turns out that if you've ever gone shopping for pants at Gap or Banana Republic or Levi's, they don't really fit you if you've got an athletic build. So these guys for years were going to custom tailors to get their jeans made and their khakis made for their corporate BCG consulting jobs. And the result was they weren't trendy, they weren't on style. It was a very laborious process. They actually had to go to these old school tailors and pick out fabrics, and it just wasn't something that worked for them. And so they had to employ all of these workarounds. So they decided to start Bonobos, a company that made really great fitting jeans for different body types and wrapped it in a trendy experience using really, really great materials that you could do with an online fantastic customer support system where you could send the products back as much as you want. Turned out there are actually a lot of people in the world who want good fitting jeans that are in style and that have a great customer service experience. And so Just to kind of give you an example, the Uber, another company that was found on observing extreme users in the way that they use the private car business. And here at Capital One, we're actually taking that same approach. Right now, my team, where's George, new member of my team, he's working to reimagine what it means to get a checking account. You don't walk into a branch anymore. So what does it mean when you want to get a checking account? And so one of the things we're going to be doing is rather than talking to people who want to get a checking account right now, we're going to talk to people who keep all of their money in cash. Why would we talk to those people? Those don't seem like customers to apply online for a checking account, but we're pretty sure we're going to learn something from them. We're going to talk to people who actually go into their bank branch every week and talk to a teller. That seems like the wrong person to talk to build an online bank experience, but we think we're actually going to learn a lot from them. So that trend, I think, is changing the way we do product. The second one is designers are the new engineer. Now, this is not to say you do not need engineers, but for a while as a product manager, if you had a rock star developer who was working on your product, you were good to go. You could take over the world. That's not necessarily the case anymore. Technology innovations are fewer and far between, and a lot more of the innovations that are changing are the experiential ones, the ones where you're taking existing technology and you're finding a new way to add value to someone's life by making it simpler, easier to understand, allowing the technology to disappear in the background, allowing the product to just be and do and engage in your life in a more natural habitat. The example I use for this is airline travel. How many of you have booked an airline ticket using Hipmunk or used them to compare flights online? Great, a little bit more than, okay, we're flyers, but not super stylish pants buyers. I'm getting a vibe for the audience here. So, pulling together flights from 15, 20 different airlines and allowing you to filter them by price and time, that's not new technology. That's been around for a decade. Kayak, Expedia, Orbitz, they've been doing this for a long time. But what the founder, who's a designer at Hipmunk, discovered is it's actually really hard for that information to be meaningful for you. You still end up buying the wrong flight, and you get to the airport and you're like, why did I buy this flight when that flight left 1 hour earlier and had no connection? It was the same price. And so Hipmunk found a way to take all of this data and present it in a visually compelling way that allowed you to very quickly understand what the bang for the buck is of paying $50 more for that flight. They even come up with a word to describe it, which I think we'll all relate to, agony, when trying to figure out how much you're going to spend on a plane ticket. So if I think about how I apply this insight to my life now, really focusing on the expertise of design, attracting designers to your team. Every new project at Capital One starts with an engineer and a designer. We view those as both necessary expertise to have involved in the process, equal sort of heads. And we're also been partnering with the Stanford D School, who is taking David Kelly's methodology from IDEO and has created an entire school around it, an entire program around it, educating master's students at Stanford on how to think in this human-centered design methodology. And we're actually partnering with them and bringing that methodology inside Capital One and training our designers and our product managers to use those same disciplines, because we think we're onto something with this one. The third and final thing that is really affected me in product in the last couple years is doing is the new planning. So for a while, if you ever wanted to get something built, even as recent as 6 or 7 years ago, you'd have to kind of come up with a plan for it, right? It wasn't cheap to build stuff. You had to figure out how many engineers you needed, what the back-end technology needed to be. You had to write a plan for how you were going to get it to market, maybe how much money it was going to make. Not necessarily a full-blown business plan, but you still kind of had to have a plan. And the reason why is because you had to go ask for budget for that to test your idea. So you had to have a good well-formed plan for it. That's not really the case anymore. Now, it still costs some money, but with Amazon Web Services, UI toolkits, APIs, you can build things really, really, really cheaply. And so what's the point of the plan, right? And so we really think about how you can just really get a product into market, right? And into market doesn't necessarily mean you're launching it on the Apple App Store and you're putting ads on Facebook. It could just be you're launching it to the people in the subway station down here in Clarendon. The folks who work in the lab are very familiar with there's 8 minutes between the orange train. So you got 8 minutes to try to sell your product to a customer. And so we spend a lot of time building, and we feel that by building and doing and actually launching to customers in a much faster, we can actually inform our plan. And this is not rocket science. The lean startup movement has been talking about the benefits of building and testing and learning for years now. But I think it's really important, even in a corporate environment, to think about how are you doing that, right? How are you letting the doing first and the planning second? At Capital One right now, we have 7 products in pilot, none of which took more than 3 or 4 months to actually build. And so, if you think about building a financial product, those are typically not very easy things to build, but we really focused on what is that minimum thing you need to do so that you can learn, you can uncover what are going to actually be the technical constraints and difficulties in your product, what is early market feedback, and those things can inform your plan on the fly iteratively. So, extreme users are the new average Joe, designers are the new engineer, and doing before planning. These are 3 trends that I really feel are changing the way I build and make products, the way my team builds, and the way I think the world is building. So I wish I had a song clip for right here, but the lines are blurring. This is my, oh, there we go. Oh, it's not going. Can't get my slide to go up. Well, thank you is what the next slide says. So thank you very much.
Thank you.